But first, you gotta check out my new venture. Moving pictures. Zhu Li, do the thing.
Oh my god, it's happening. It's finally happening. Hello YouTube, we are making an episode based around Tales of Chimere. I am so excited for this! Okay, get it together, girl. Today will be our first, certainly not the last foray into the world of Chimere. We'll be taking one of its apex predators, the robust Megaraptoran called the Uktan, and placing them in the Earth Kingdom from Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. We will be looking into the Uktan's strengths, weaknesses, the environment they'll be placed in, the food that is available, and what threats and competition they may face in this new world. Can the robust monarchs carve out a territory here? Or will they find there is no war in Ba Sing Se? Let's find out together! Also, special thanks to Keenan Taylor for letting me use the Uktan. Please go subscribe to them. I am a huge fan of their work. Chimere is a distant planet, populated by swarms of life brought from Earth, transported by the native life called magic. As the asteroid that ended the non-avian dinosaurs never struck Chimere, dinosaurs remain the prominent megafauna. I have always wanted to say that. The Uktan is one of the 4 large Megaraptorans that dominate as the apex predators of Chimere. Its close cousins include the Zentaur, Oritaku, and Kurajaku. Unlike its cousins, it's highly social, mating for life and raising young over many years, sometimes over a decade before they finally leave the nest, though most leave much earlier. Standing at 4 meters tall, 10 to 12 meters long, and weighing in at 6 to 10 tons, they are the apex predators of the plains and grasslands of Chimere, primarily Nikar and Kairul. Adults can run at 25 kilometers per hour, or 15 miles an hour, with the young being able to sprint at 50 kilometers per hour, or 30 miles an hour. These kings of the prairie are generalists, hunting most kinds of game. Individuals, however, prefer to specialize in a particular kind of prey. Some Uktan rely almost exclusively on pronghorn and other ungulates, hunting them with pursuit predation over long distances, using their incredibly strong sense of sight to track prey while jogging after them at a leisurely pace, until the prey is too exhausted and collapses. Their respiratory system is highly pneumaticized, allowing them to run for hours with little effort. Other Uktan use teamwork to flip over giant glyptodonts. Horses, antelope, bovids, sloths, jackals, thescelosaurs, calicotheres, hyenas, cockatrices, glyptodonts, and telodonts, and just about anything ranging from a quarter ton to 10 plus tons is on the menu. They are not picky.
You're awfully cute, but unfortunately for you, you're made of meat.
Adults have little to worry about in their home territory in terms of predators, especially out in the plains. Their only threat and competitor is the giant entelodon Bokudo, and even then, only large males can truly threaten a pair of Uktan. When ranging outside their ideal habitat, they must worry about run-ins with the giant dromaeosaur Comakaboe. In the forests, and giant crocodilians and the Kika-Katik in the wetlands. Young and juveniles, on the other hand, have a myriad of threats to deal with. Eggs and hatchlings are at risk to birds, large lizards, and mammals, especially mustelids. Youngsters old enough to be safe from those are at risk from cockatrices, hyenas, big cats, entelodonts, and terror birds like the harkundi or the fireback. Subadults are only at risk from the fireback terror birds and larger Uktan, as the species can be very territorial. Each family unit is ruled by a breeding pair, with all their offspring from previous years, at least until they reach sexual maturity. Older offspring are vital in defending the nest, eggs, and hatchlings from nest raiders too small for the adults to target.
Will there are no eggs here for you?
As such, When an Uktan pair lay their first clutch, it's highly unlikely more than a single chick will make it. In these early years, one adult stays to guard the nest at all time, while the other hunts for food. This increases security, but decreases the amount of calories going to both adults. Once they have a juvenile old enough to guard the nest, the parents can hunt in tandem, and this is where their reproductive success really shines. The robust Megaraptorans have strong jaws, but they don't use them to kill their prey. The peg-like teeth are ideal for grabbing and restraining prey, while their massive claws bring on the finishing blow. They aim to puncture the throat, neck, lungs, or heart, thus ensuring a quick and easy kill. These claws are great at piercing through armor, but if they can't, Uktan tend to aim for the weak points, like the armpit, which is often unguarded and leads right to the lungs.
Well, maybe I feel stabby.
Combined with a pair of fangs in the middle portion of their jaws for even better prey restraint, fatty pads under their feet for infrasonic detection of larger animals, and strong binocular vision, escaping a determined Uktan is all but impossible. Huh, a seismic sense. That sounds kind of familiar.
The Blind Bandit!
Whenever you're ready, the Pebble.
When Uktan leave their family's nests, they rarely leave alone. Usually, a sibling or two will leave with them, and these small packs are vital to protect them from hyenas or cockatrices. They'll stay together for years, but eventually they'll part ways when they find a mate. The social intelligence of the Uktan is comparable, if not surpassing, modern wolves and even corvids, and while their intelligence being rated so highly may be a result of anthropomorphism, they are still some of the most socially complex theropods in all of Chimere. Mates are chosen by a complex system of dance moves, followed by assisting each other in a hunt to prove their fitness. These mating bonds are far deeper than any summary can cover, so for more details, please go check out the Ballad of Kahai on Tales of Chimere. In terms of weaknesses, the Uktan has very few. Due to their sociality, the family units need a lot of calories to sustain them all. This is simple in the wet season, but during prolonged dry seasons or droughts, this can be a huge risk to their survival. Adult pairs select a territory as their permanent home base, and must guard it from other Uktan who may wander in, looking to claim the territory as their own. Should the new pair be victorious and outsing the current parents, they'll show no mercy, killing both the former owners and any young they had. This means sometimes the biggest threat to an Uktan is another Uktan. While they are notable predators, they aren't invincible. Adult Hukulor sloths, the Calcathir galanos, and the aforementioned Bokudo have all claimed the lives of Uktan too confident in their hunting skills. Furthermore, their night vision is poor, and ambushes during the night are much riskier. It takes over 4 years for chicks to go from a house cat-sized hatchling to a human-sized juvenile, and it takes another 8 to pass 2 tons, where they start to reach puberty. It'll be at least another 4 years until they hit true maturity. And while a successful breeding pair can pop out 3 to 7 chicks a year, not all will make it to adulthood, and in the early years, with no older chicks to guard the nest, mortality is very high. Now that you're all acquainted with the kings of the Housie Prairie, let's go into how well they may survive the Earth Kingdom.
If the Earth Kingdom discovers us, they'll have us killed.
But if the Fire Nation discovers us, we'll be turned over to Azula.
Earth Kingdom it is.
The Earth Kingdom is the largest continent in the world of Avatar, more than double the size of the next, the Fire Nation Islands. As such, it offers a wide variety of habitats, temperatures, and climates. The general trend tends to be grasslands, open forests, and deserts, with a sizable swamp as well. Outside the swamps, it tends to err on the drier side, and is fairly open, with trees in the forest not making a thick enough canopy to block sunlight. The majority of the landscape are open plains and grasslands, perfect habitat for the Uktan, as they are used to the housey prairie of Khmer. Temperatures remain mostly warm. We have no hard numbers, but given the landscape shown and the fact that we never see snow, and the residents of the Earth Kingdom are never depicted wearing thick clothing, suggests a tropical or subtropical climate, temperate at most. The Siwang Desert is a massive barrier in the southern part of the Earth Kingdom, and populated by the Siwang tribes and their giant beetles. Extremely hot and desolate, similar to modern Sahara, this is not ideal habitat. Though with their amazing endurance and stamina, shorter crossings aren't out of the question for the Megaraptor ants. The Foggy Swamp is a dense, wet, and humid area that spans miles of floodplains. Sparsely populated, dense with foliage, and covered by a permanent fog full of spirit energy. What's spirit energy? It's a term I'm using to cover the influences the spirit world of Avatar: The Last Airbender has on the natural world. The spirit world itself is kind of an alternate dimension mixed with an afterlife, and areas with high spirit energy in the main world are where the veil is thinner, allowing spirits to tweak aspects of reality. This is a very scientific overview of a very not scientific piece of world building, so take it with a grain of salt. If you entered the Foggy Swamp, you would be exposed to visions. These visions wouldn't be exact memories, nor are they entirely unreal hallucinations. Often they encompass elements of your past or future. Katara saw her deceased mother, and Sokka spoke with his former partner.
My first girlfriend turned into the moon. That's rough, buddy.
On the other hand, Aang saw a vision of his future earthbending tutor, Toph Beifong, along with a flying pig, which is the Beifong family crest. And this influence from the Foggy Swamp is not permanent. It comes and goes and can disappear for years. An entire society of waterbenders, referred to as the Swamp Benders, live full-time in the Foggy Swamp, and some have never experienced such a vision. Oh, and there's also tornadoes that are semi-common in this swamp. Almost forgot to mention that. Lastly, the Earth Kingdom is home to many villages, cities, and empires, despite the name leading you to think it's all united under one kingdom. Most villages are independent, and thus vulnerable to raiders. Others are protected by the kingdom centered in Ba Sing Se, which involves getting taxed and putting yourself and family at the whims of Earth Kingdom generals, who may raid the city. Yeah, great options. Independent city-states like Omashu pop up now and then, usually well established and limited to a relatively small area. And finally, there's the several hundred-mile-long city of Ba Sing Se, a giant metropolis in the northeast of the Earth Kingdom, protected by several hundred-meter walls encircling it all in 3 rings, each ring designating a different status and class. Of all these habitats, the Uktan will thrive most in the vast open plains they're familiar with, which luckily is also the primary habitat in the Earth Kingdom. Edge populations will occur in the swamp, on the edges of deserts, or in the forests, but the bulk of them will gravitate to the habitat they are most familiar with.
Delectable tea or deadly poison?
Being a pure carnivore, the Uktan must hunt for his food. What's on the menu in the world of Avatar? Hatchling Uktan can find plenty of small insects, reptiles, and mammals to eat. Nothing special there. Juveniles can hunt boars, bears, gemsbok bulls, ostrich horse, deer fox, fire ox, fire ferrets, goat gorillas, hog monkeys, hopping llamas, giant flies, owl wolves, possum chicken, pygmy puma, and tiger-dillos. Yes, those are all real animals in this world. But most importantly, what about the adults? All hatchlings and most juvenile Uktan eat what their parents bring home to dinner until they go out on their own. On the smaller side, adult Uktan can hunt rabaroos, gemsbok bulls, and ostrich horse, which are ideal prey for the kings of the prairie. They are very similar to the Thescelosaurs, pronghorn, horses, and terror birds that they hunted on Khmer. Thanks to their pursuit predation skills and high endurance, chasing down fast prey is relatively easy. I think ostrich horse in particular will be a popular prey item for them, since the Megaraptor ants have a taste for horses already. No! Not my... Ostrich? Horse? Ostrich horses are common beasts of burden in the Earth Kingdom, making them high in range and population. plenty to feed a nest of hungry chicks. Now, since Avatar is a story-based show and not a detailed bestiary, most if not all of these animals don't have any listed size estimates. Everything I've mentioned up until now is underneath 500 pounds or so definitely within the range that even a subadult Uktan can hunt. Luckily, for the larger animals, I know a guy. Christopher Forbes is a pro at volumetric analysis, and they help me get the mass and size of a bunch of animals that the Uktans will be hunting. Starting with the fastest and highest endurance in Avatar, we have the eelhound, an animal that can race across continents with minimal stopping, crossing any terrain or water with ease. Uktan will only be able to catch one with a good ambush. At just under 3 meters tall and 1.5 tons, it's certainly an easy kill should an Uktan corner it first. In the Siwang Desert, we have a semi-domestic giant beetle, far larger than any other insect in the series. At 4 to 5 tons and 12 feet at the shoulder? Carapace? How would one measure that? Hang on. Scutellum. The little part of the beetle's back at the top is called a scutellum. The more you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
While unfamiliar, these beetles are nowhere near as strong as their tiny counterparts, so they are potential famine food for any Uktan neighboring the desert. Though pound for pound insects don't have as much meat on them, and they're mostly chitin, it's still something. The theropod's claws would struggle to puncture the exoskeleton, but at the limbs they'd slide in just fine. A weird and maybe less than optimal food, but it'll do. Also close to the desert is the elephant camel, a semi-domestic beast of burden. Standing 3 meters tall and weighing a solid 2 tons, it's a perfectly sized prey animal for the Uktan. Not much else to say here, we don't know much about them other than that they are a combination of elephant and camel. At least it's not a rhino elephant, because how the Uktan would deal with that, I know.
Oh, brother, this...
An introduced species into the Earth Kingdom is the Komodo rhino, a personal favorite of mine. Weighing 2 tons and being about 2 meters at the shoulder and just under 6 meters long, these are another perfect prey item for the Uktan, being unable to run or fight off the Megaraptoran. These guys got introduced by the Fire Nation during the 100 Years' War, which is also the point in time we'll be introducing our Megaraptorans. Last but not least is the elephant mandrill. At 2 to 3 tons, and on par in size to an average Indian elephant, this is the perfectly sized animal for adult Uktan to hunt. Their giant fangs could cause some damage if brought to the Uktan's hide, but their overall slow speed and bulky, unagile frame make it easy for a Megaraptoran to outmaneuver. While a bit smaller than the menu on Chimere, there are quite a few animals here to feed the diets of our new incoming dinosaurs. But who else is in line at this all-you-can-eat buffet?
The king is having a party at the palace tonight for his pet bear.
You mean platypus bear?
No, it just says bear.
Certainly you mean his pet skunk bear.
Or his armadillo bear?
Gopher bear? Just bear.
This place is weird.
Firstly, we'll cover the few animals that are a risk to eggs, hatchling, or the very, very young Uktan. All of these animals are potential prey for later growth stages, so they aren't the biggest threat to an established nest, and more so are a threat to first-time parents. This includes the elephant rat, geelicorn, frog squirrels, cat owls, dragonflies, viper bats, fire ferrets, hog monkeys, owl wolves, and pygmy pumas. Eelhounds, tigerdillos, wolf bats, and a wide variety of bears may be potential predators of young Uktan. Luckily, when leaving the nest, juveniles often leave in groups, making them less appealing as prey. Even the Arctodus-sized platypus bear is very quick to back down from a visually larger foe. In the foggy swamp lies the cat gator, a whiskered crocodilian that relies on both ambush and pursuit tactics to catch its prey. It's certainly a threat to young Uktan, but with adult cat gators maxing out as the same size as your average modern alligator, they certainly can't take an adult. Endemic to a single set of canyons on the southern part of the Earth Kingdom are the canyon crawlers. These titanic spider crocs are ravenous hunters who will go after anything with their strong sense of smell. They range heavily in size, with the smaller ones being about the size of a horse, and larger ones being 10 meters long and over 20 tons. Any Uktan Even an adult who lingers in these canyons is doomed. Luckily, canyon crawlers don't leave this particular habitat and don't exist anywhere else in the Earth Kingdom, so it's unlikely to make a difference in the theropod's long-term survival. In the denser forest lies a dangerous herbivore. The porcupine is 4 tons and 2.5 meters tall, with incredible strength and aggression. They tend to sleep in shallow caves or in abandoned temples, and aren't afraid to attack larger animals should they perceive them. Not only do these elephant-sized pigs have a full coat of painful quills, but their strength is unreal. One was seen to toss around the 10-ton appa with ease, and can survive falls down steep cliff sides and being struck with a giant tree. Even an experienced adult Uktan would struggle to survive an encounter with such a beast. Our new theropods will have to learn to avoid them at all costs. Thankfully for the Megaraptoran, their habitats don't overlap much, as the boars have only been sighted in the thicker forests, and the Uktan will prefer the open prairies. Dragons flying over from the Fire Nation were historically a potential threat, but they were rare even in those days. Around the time of the 100 Years' War, Fire Nation generals have hunted them to functional extinction, so they won't be something the Uktan will have to worry about on the regular. Now on to the big guns, the full-time, popular apex predators of the Earth Kingdom. Fufu Cuddlypoops, meet Kahai. Kahai, meet Fufu Cuddlypoops. Largely viewed as the dominant predator of the continent is the legendary saber-toothed moose lion. Yes, you heard that right. Saber-toothed moose lions. God, I love Avatar. Standing at 4.2 meters tall and weighing in at 5.5 tons as an adult, these carnivorous mammals rival the large theropods of Earth. Their reputation is like that of lions in our world, seen as majestic, powerful animals that are unchallenged in their domain. While that's not entirely true, it's the biggest common predator, and the Uktan will be competing with them for the same prey. Confrontations between the two usually won't lead to violence, as like all predators they'll avoid fights, as any injury can lead to death via starvation. However, being foreign to each other, both will try their best to chase the other off a kill. And in these matchups, the Uktan has a slight edge. Not only do they have an average mass advantage, but they have experience dealing with large mammalian predators in the form of the bokudu. The moose lion has never dealt with an animal like a theropod before. Furthermore, their antlers provide a weak point, as several Uktan have been known to hunt large, horned bovids by steering them by grabbing the horns. Add in that Uktan live in pairs, and most confrontations will end with the moose lion sauntering off, defeated in display. Our Megaraptorans will end up displacing this mammal and force it to wait its turn at a kill site or move into less ideal habitats. But this isn't the last competitor for the Chimeran King to deal with. While extremely rare, there's an even larger predator lurking about the Earth Kingdom. A blind mammal, with more in common with the Morkutlot of Kaishel. Shirshu are huge, wolf-mole anteater hybrids with high stamina, speed, and tenacity. Their sense of smell is legendary, and they're known to track prey over hundreds of miles. They are far larger than I expected, weighing in at a staggering 8 tons, comparable to an average T-Rex or just over an average Uktan. They spend their days in large burrows and hunt at night, using scent as their primary sense. Like the Uktan, they are endurance hunters, able to run for miles endlessly. But here's the kicker. Shirshu have long, barbed tongues that contain a paralytic venom, capable of instantly paralyzing smaller prey. Humans can become immobile in less than a second, and even an animal of 10 tons could only resist the effects a few minutes before falling. These would be a major problem for the Megaraptorans, if they were more common. In many parts of the Earth Kingdom, Shirshu are considered myths, and only a few dozen humans have even know they exist. They may be endangered, or maybe they have extremely low population densities. The interaction between the two predators will be rare, which is good for the Uktan. This isn't a predator they can fend off effectively, and they'll have to avoid them, or at least concede to them at kill sites. I guess that wraps it up. Only one real predator they have to compete with, but they're so rare. Yep, get your ragtag musicians ready, cause this is the apex predator of the Earth Kingdom. These huge mammals, known as badger moles, are mostly blind, but instead of smell, they utilize the incredible skill of earthbending.
That lemur, he's earthbending.
idiot, it's the badger.
Yes, this animal is capable of magic rock kung fu, causing rock slides, cave-ins, and sinkholes just by flexing their claws. Only a few swings of its arms can carve out burrows large enough to pass an airplane through. Badger moles weigh in at over... Hang on, let me double check this. 40 to 50 tons! And being 13 meters long and over 5 meters at the shoulder, this badger is as big as some sauropods. And yes, it is a dedicated carnivore. We don't know the exact details of how they hunt, but I have a hypothesis of how they do. Like a giant crocodile, they'll lie in wait in tunnels underneath common gathering spots, like game trails or on the edge of watering holes, waiting until something substantial strolls by, and then collapsing the earth beneath them. Once the prey has fallen into the trap, the badger moles can either make the kill themselves, or if they'd rather avoid a fight, reseal the trap and wait for the prey to die of suffocation. Badger moles are easily the biggest threat to Uktan, as even a pack would be incapable of fending off a single one. And like the Uktan, badger moles live in pairs, making this even worse for the theropods. The only way to survive a badger mole attack is to placate them with music.
Secret tunnel, through the mountains. Secret tunnel, yeah.
The only saving grace for our Chimeran invaders is their own seismic sense and high endurance. They may be able to sense a badger mole about to strike, and have the speed and stamina to escape. But this still depends on the dinosaur being able to recognize the threat. Easier said than done. And last but not least, how do our kings of the prairie handle humans? Well, they're used to humans in their own land, and are usually not interested in them. If anything, Uktan like having human civilizations around, as their horses are delicious. The only difference in this world is that some humans can wield the elements of earth, fire, air, and water. I should have seen that joke coming from myself. Humans will be able to better defend their ostrich horses here, and the Uktan will learn over time that humans can actually hit above their weight class. The issue is this is not consistent. Benders aren't present in every human village, so each time the Uktan assesses if a horse is on the menu, it has to gamble. Smaller, poorer villages are less likely to have benders present, so unfortunately those may kiss their ostrich horses goodbye. So how do the Uktan do in the face of competition? The final cast of Avatar offers some new threats, but most of these are limited in range, numbers, or habitat. Only the badger mole is a universal threat, and while they do pose a big issue for theropods, it's not going to be enough to entirely wipe them out. So overall, the Uktan maintains a stable population in the Earth Kingdom. The habitat is almost the same as its home, with a slightly smaller but more diverse menu of prey, and a few major predators they have to worry about. While they don't thrive or take over, they manage to survive just fine here, incorporating themselves into the ecology. Like I said earlier, we are introducing our Uktan population around the start of the 100 Years' War. We'll go over the descendants of millions of years first, but the end will cover an earlier descendant that develops just a few decades after introduction.
When we hit our lowest point, we are open to the greatest change.
But first, a word from today's sponsor.
Flamio Instant Noodles. Noodliest noodles in the United Republic.
The butterfly stork. On the islands to the south of the Earth Kingdom lives a new apex predator. Safe and isolated from the competitors and other predators, this Megaraptoran has managed to secure its place along the ecosystems here. The bulk of their population lies on Whaletail Island, Kyoshi Island, and Kangaroo Island.
Oh, Kangaroo Island, eh? I hear that place is really hopping.
Oh, bro.
Weighing in at 2 tons and comparable in size to an Allosaurus, they've shrunk due to insular dwarfism. There's still plenty of game around here, with animals like cat deer, rabaroos, and introduced domestics like the ostrich horse. Like some of their long-distant ancestors from Khmer, their Uktan ancestors crossed seas and island hopped to their new homes after being pushed out of their habitat by their own species and badger moles. A creature as monstrous as they are magnificent, such a reputation is not earned simply by being a brute, but by also possessing beauty beyond what is to be expected. These beautiful tyrants possess large humps on their back, reminiscent of a butterfly's wings, hence the name. These humps are worn with pride, and it appears to be a tyrant's most important gift. The females lack these structures and possess more average coloration. Males are held back by the sheer size of these humps, often limiting their agility and movement on hunts. They usually reflect the animal's health. Larger and more colorful males are more energetic and active than males without it. Due to their intense competition between males, they rarely come into contact with humans. At least the males do. They spend so much time grooming their wings and patrolling territories they don't stray too far from those boundaries. Females are far more relaxed and travel between the territories of males they fancy. Mothers travel with their offspring, but when entering the territory of a prominent male, they hide the chicks in thickets. Males have been seen committing infanticide, so this is a very measured response. Male and female butterfly storks are indistinguishable until puberty, at which point those wing humps start to grow and the process is not seamless. Numerous adolescents seem to be in constant stress over the itchy feeling, constantly nibbling and rubbing their backs against rocks. A male's success entirely relies upon the maintenance of these wing humps. Males without them are unlikely to ever pass down their genes. But those who manage to maintain their wings ascend to another level, a king prideful of its crown and wrathful against those who attempt to take it. The prairie dog chicken. Skittering along the open plains and grasslands of the Earth Kingdom runs a smaller, less imposing descendant of the Uktan. Competition and the great strength of larger animals encouraged a shrinking in size. Like their Picardian cousins, the Orotaku, they went through a neotenous selection, keeping juvenile straits into adulthood, but to a greater extreme. The prairie dog chicken is barely larger than a human, 2.5 meters long, and weighing 45 to 90 kilograms, or 100 to 200 pounds. They live in pairs and are a fairly common sight across the kingdom, preferring the open plains. Found in abandoned burrows made by badger mole or shirshu, they specialize in hunting small game, mostly rodents and birds. Covered in these long, emu-like feathers, the prairie dog chicken has a much skinnier neck and head compared to its ancestor, better for shoving into holes in the ground to catch burrowing critters. The feathers around its head form a facial disc akin to that of a barn owl, to enhance their already phenomenal hearing. Their large claws on their forelimbs are now thicker and duller, better for digging into burrows or insect nests. Their huge, fluffy tail is useful for both protecting their face during sandstorms and making them look larger to intimidate the occasional wolf bat, pygmy puma, or juvenile saber-toothed moose lion. It is especially effective against the timid armadillo lion, tricking them into rolling into a ball and giving the dinosaur a chance to escape. In particular, they hunt the singing groundhog thanks to their bird-like vocal cords being able to mimic the rodent's calls.
Yeah! I'm putting an orchestra together.
Orchestra, huh? Well, la-dee-da.
Prairie dog chickens can mimic the sounds of the gophers, luring them out of their tiny burrows and into the open, where they can rush forward and grab the unsuspecting rodents. But they aren't picky, and will hunt elephant rats, flop-eared rabbits, geckos, sugar gliders, jackalopes, helicorns, rabaroos, and any poorly protected livestock from the smaller towns. Prairie dog chickens are generally timid of humans, avoiding any large settlements. However, they can often be common in the poorer, smaller towns. Their presence is controversial, with villages and even individual families having very opposing opinions on them. Crop farmers generally enjoy the company of these dinosaurs, as they eat pest animals that might destroy their fields. Animal farmers have the direct opposite feelings, as they often lose newborn or hatching livestock to the hungry chickens. These Uktan descendants manage to scrape by becoming inconspicuous and generalists, eating just about anything they come across. Unlike the next descendant, the Flamingoana. A staggering titan patrols the rivers, lakes, and wetlands surrounding the foggy swamp. Some claim it a myth, an aggressive and monstrous beast that towered above any humans and would slay you with a single swipe of its clawed hands. And it's bright pink. Standing at almost 4 meters tall at the shoulder and weighing in at a terrifying 15 tons, this hulking pink beast is the largest animal in the foggy swamp, and is only surpassed in the Earth Kingdom by badger moles and the nearly extinct sand shark. Their head is massive, even larger than that of their Uktan ancestors. It is filled with teeth, unlike those of any other animal on the continent. These tri-crowned teeth are akin to those of a crab-eater seal of our world, allowing the Flamingoana to sift the swamp waters for crustaceans and fish, which is most of its diet. But not all of it, as they are capable of hunting large game as well, cat gators being a particularly favorite prey of theirs. Their huge claws are rarely used in hunting, but rather as display features the males use to draw the attention of females. Being able to survive and be healthy with a large set of huge claws showcases their fitness, like their cousins, the butterfly stork. A long, heavy, paddle-shaped tail offers both a counterweight and propulsion in deeper waters. Their swim speed isn't anything crazy, but it's enough to catch large fish and the occasional cat gator. While outsiders call them a folktale, talking to the swamp benders will reveal why few ever tell the tale of the Flamingoana. They are extremely territorial, and have a habit of attacking boats and ensuring no one makes it out of the swamp alive. Swamp benders keep close track of their territories, avoiding them and using their water-bending boosted boats to escape any close calls. Part of the reason these animals have not been confirmed by any scholars has to do with the high amounts of spiritual presence and energy in the foggy swamp. The frequency of visions of the past and future lead many to believe a Flamingoana is nothing but a group hallucination. The Ashen Drake. A young male Uktan softly steps into a grove of weathered trees, eyes locked on a clearing. The cat deer in the center grazes peacefully and is completely unaware of the potential danger approaching. The young theropod licks his scaly lips, taking a silent step closer. The ground beneath him began to shake mid-step, throwing the young theropod to the ground. The cat deer startled and took off, bounding into the thicker trees. Our young Uktan scrambled to get up, but before it could properly right itself, a hole opened up in the ground, swallowing him entirely. Half buried in the sand and silt, subadult Megaraptoran thrashed about, sending dirt and rubble flying in the darkened pit. Sand and dust scatter from his feathers as he rolls onto his feet, only to fall once more down a steep incline, plunging into the darkness below. When he finally stops plummeting, the darkness barely lit by diluted sunlight from above, the young theropod slowly gets to his feet. Flexing their toes and digits, he finds none of them broken, just sore and bruised. The hole shook once more, with a cavern opening up. The form of a huge badger mole erupted from the wall, and our young Uktan screeched in fear, puffing up its feathers in a futile attempt to make itself look larger. He scrambled up the steep pile of rocks, feathers on edge in pure fear. The badger mole clapped its paws together, and the hole above sealed shut, plunging them into total darkness. The Uktan squealed once more, losing its footing as the predator closed in. An earthquake far greater than the last starts up, with even the badger mole barking in concern. It dives into the earth, leaving our terrified young Uktan alone, completely enveloped in darkness. Once again, he shakily got to his feet, trembling in abject terror.
You're far from home, little one.
Looking around, the Uktan sees a dim light, illuminating a face several stories tall. For reasons the young theropod doesn't understand, the presence is calming, and it cautiously approaches the large figure.
All kinds of rather coincides with these dark times. Balance between the elements is at risk. The first teachers of firebending are not long for this world, and with them, the knowledge humans need
The young Megaraptoran tilted its head, curiosity finally winning over fear. A huge clawed finger slowly emerged from the wall.
Like it has occurred before, this world is entering a new age. The dragons can no longer hold dominion over fire. Long ago, my kind trusted humans with the gift of the elements. And now, we will entrust it to you. Hold steadfast, new Lord of Fire.
The lion turtle's finger gently touched the Uktan on the forehead, causing a flash of white light. When the young theropod's eyes cleared, the lion turtle was gone. Whining in confusion, the young Uktan searched for a way out of the hole. Another set of rumbling caught his attention, and he huffed in fear and frustration. The badger mole had returned. Once more, it lunged for the young Megaraptoran, and he raised his clawed arms up as a fear response. The cavern brightly lit up as a wave of flames flickered from the Uktan's claws and feathers, singeing the fur on the badger mole's face. It roared in response, once more plummeting into the earth, the vibrations from its escape breaking the roof on the newly opened cavern. Sunlight poured in, and our young Uktan blinked in response. While it took a while, he managed to climb his way out of the hole, shaking the dirt and dust off his feathers, and finally getting a breath of fresh air. The theropod looked quizzically at its own arms, confused as to what happened earlier. He flapped his arms again, but nothing occurred. Chittering in confusion, he sniffed the air, catching the scent of another hoofed prey. The Uktan's attention shifted, and he wandered off in search of food. Almost 100 years later, the descendants of that young male have become their own unique subspecies, distinct not for anatomical differences, as they're quite similar to their ancestors, but due to the ability to firebend. The Ashen Drakes, as they are called by people of the Four Nations, are large apex predators of the open forests, plains, and grasslands, capable of thriving where their ancestors struggled. Now holding the gift of fire, their lack of strength compared to the native fauna is less of an issue. Even badger moles have to be cautious around Ashen Drakes, though they'll still prey on them from time to time. But more often, the Ashen Drake utilizes firebending not for competition, but during their complex mating dances. Like their ancestors, they mate for life. And to win over a potential partner, their display must be a showing of their physicality and determination. Given their phenomenal vision, the fire produced by these Megaraptorans can be a wild array of colors, even going into the ultraviolet and infrared spectrum. Both males and females engage in dance, with flames flickering off their arms, tails, and snouts. Part of this intricacy is getting as close to each other as possible without burning. Young individuals often have minor burns from these first attempts, but with practice they'll eventually get the hang of it. Fire is rarely used in hunting, as the drake's endurance, senses, and claws are perfectly fine to get the job done. Only populations that specialize in tackling porcupines use their fire to hunt, as a way to corral, trap, and then roast the hog, burning off the quills for an easier feast. However, these Uktan subspecies have been observed intentionally starting fires in the dry season to flush out prey. This usually takes place in scrublands or grasslands, which is already their ideal habitat. Hungry drakes will search for signs of game hiding in the dense bush, then light a fire while the family unit spreads out, each helping to control the blaze in a given direction. Prey either burst from the undergrowth and the chase is on, or they're cooked to a crisp. The other use they have of firebending is defense. Badger moles have to respect their offensive potential. Only in an ambush would the badgers risk attacking something that could burn their face off. Displays of firebending are also used by subadults to help defend kills from other predators. Adults usually don't have to resort to anything but their size, but a 3-ton juvenile can even scare off a saber-toothed moose lion with a skilled enough display. Like other bending animals, ashen drakes can't firebend right after birth. Unlike badger moles and sky bison, it takes almost until puberty for theropods to develop this skill. And even then, it's dangerous at this stage, as the teenage Uktan will likely make mistakes. Luckily, as they're social, there's usually an adult around to put out any fires that get too out of control. Their cultural image and reputation has been very mixed, just like the prairie dog chicken. At first, A sudden fire-bending monster struck fear into the heart of Earth Kingdom residents, particularly since they appeared right at the start of the 100 Years' War. The Fire Nation invaders saw this as a sign of their proper dominion and right of rule. However, these ideas didn't last.
Finally! Glory to Fire Nation, and once at last! Oh shit. So this is how I'm gonna die, huh? Well, this is...
The Ashen Drakes had little interest in the small Earth Kingdom villages, at least outside the occasional ostrich horse. But the Fire Nation troops, bringing native livestock like the Komodo rhinos and hippo cows, caught their attention. Furthermore, the less defended Fire Nation camps made for easier raids, especially considering the Drakes can block and counter firebending. Developing a taste for Komodo rhino, the Drake actually lessened the Fire Nation invasion for a time. Individual towns and villages, once again, have drastic opinions on the Ashen Drakes. Some outright despise them, trying to kill them on sight and keeping them as far from their towns as possible. These are primarily ones run by Earth Kingdom generals. Others celebrate the dinosaurs' arrival, seeing them as a karmic justice for the Fire Nation's transgressions. They even hold festivals in the beast's honor, offering up ostrich horses lathered in oil as gifts. How they may impact the future is uncertain, but no matter what, a fire-bending reptile will remain in the world of Avatar. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. Here's the part where I'd list my sources. However, everything I've covered in today's episode is from my Avatar The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra DVDs, along with the Tales of Chimera anthologies, I have both books, and their YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please go watch and subscribe to Keenan Taylor, and while you're at it, go watch Avatar The Last Airbender too, the original animated one that wasn't shit on by Netflix or M. Night Shyamalan. As always, I want to thank my amazing team of artists: Barzap, Just Some Guy, Nuka-Cola, Johnny the City Patty, Bald Bird, and Shaded Janet. I especially want to highlight two new artists who have joined the team. First up is Drake Boy, a YouTuber whose work I've been highlighting recently. Go check out their videos as well. Also joining us is Green Claw Studios, an animator who offered to do a short portion about the Ashen Drake. You can expect to see both of them do some big things in future episodes. Like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, what a way to end it. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you folks in the next one.